If people could get invested in, if institutional investors and the general public can get invested and get involved with cryptocurrency through ETFs, where they don't need to store their own cryptocurrency, they don't need to worry about getting hacked, they don't need to put all their information on these sketchy exchanges, I'm sure they'd be all buddy. And welcome back to Crypto Time. So, Bitcoin ETFs. We're gonna break them down today. We're going to talk about what they are, why they're important, why people are saying that they're going to be the next catalyst for the cryptocurrency and the Bitcoin bull run, which I agree with to a point. I don't think it's going to send us all the way back to 20K, but I do think it's going to instill a bullish sentiment back into Bitcoin, back into cryptocurrency in general. So we're going to break them down. But before we get into that, I did spend quite a bit of time preparing for this video, getting this video ready. So if you do enjoy this video or you did find some kind of value out of it, I would really appreciate the like and a comment and maybe subscribe if you're new. So I really try not to ask for that stuff, but yeah, I did spend a lot of time on this video. So if you did enjoy it, make sure to remember to do that. But let's get right into the PowerPoint I made. Now, this PowerPoint isn't the best. I tried and I thought I threw in some nice little graphics, but it's going to get you what you need. So Bitcoin ETFs. So what is an ETF? An ETF is an exchange traded fund. Now, these statistics are pulled from an article that was written about a year ago, so they're probably not the most accurate. If anything, though, it just means that these numbers are inflated. So feel free to read those. Now, the most important one to me is the fact that over $20 trillion worth of ETF shares are traded yearly. That's stupid. That's just stupid. So think about what that kind of volume could do. I mean, obviously not $20 trillion worth of volume, but think about what that kind of volume could do to the cryptocurrency market. Anyways, so what is an ETF? I'm going to try to give as many examples as I can. For me personally, learning, if I can have examples rather than just giving facts, it helps a lot more. So what is an ETF? An ETF is basically a basket or a conglomerate of, say, stocks or securities, or in some cases gold, that you can buy rather than buying the stocks or the gold themselves or the securities themselves. So say that you have $1,000 or $2,000 and you want to buy gold, but you don't want to buy it physically because you don't want to store it, or you don't have anywhere to store it, or you're scared of it getting stolen. You could buy $2,000 worth of shares in an ETF for gold. But on the flip side of that, say that I'm somebody who wanted to create an ETF. Say that I have $1 million worth of gold. I've got 30 gold bars in my closet over there. I need to create a plan, send that plan to the SEC, which is an issue for cryptocurrency, but we're going to get into that in a second. I would send my plan to the SEC. They either approve it or deny it. Say they approve it, they send it back to me. Now I need to get somebody called an authorized participant, or I can do it myself. So the person who sends in the plan is known as the sponsor or the manager. Once that plan is approved, that person needs the authorized participant, who is the investor who's going to buy up the shares, or the gold in this case, for me to sell in the ETF. So like I said, say I need $1 million worth of gold to sell this ETF. My authorized participant or investor would buy up the gold, $1 million worth, and then we would store it somewhere. When you're buying an ETF with or when you're setting up an ETF with stocks, you need to place the stocks in a trust. And then with gold, you need to store it physically. So we go to some kind of safe or some kind of government authorized or government, secure location to store this gold, or some kind of bank to store the gold. And then you sell the ETF, or you sell shares of the ETF. Now there are these things called creation units that you have to form. I'm not really going to get into creation units. We're just going to talk about buying and selling the stocks. But once that gold is secured and once that gold is bought up and stored away, I can now sell shares of that gold and of this ETF. So gold goes up and people buy shares of this ETF. They're going to make money. Gold goes down. They have shares of this ETF. They're going to lose money. Same thing with Bitcoin, but it has a little different of barriers to hurdle. So the Winklevoss twins, who own Gemini, tried to send in a plan for an ETF to the SEC. Say that their plan was, they got rejected, but say their plan was 50 BTC. Say that they got accepted, they would either need to put up that 50 BTC as the sponsor / manager, or find an authorized participant who is the institutional investor or some kind of outside investor that puts up the 50 BTC. Once they have the 50 BTC, they need to store it. That's where I think there's going to be problems with the SEC, because storing crypto is, as we know, a bit difficult. You can do it offline, but then if you do it offline, where are you going to store that? So I would say that the best probably action for this would be put it on like a Ledger Nano S or some kind of cold storage, and then store that somewhere, like a safe or something like that, and then sell shares of the ETF. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but that's how they would have to do it. They'd have to get the 50 BTC, put it on some kind of cold storage, and then store that somewhere. And then they can sell shares of that. BTC goes up, people who bought the shares are going to make money. BTC goes down, people who have the shares are going to lose money. And that's how the ETF works. you can trade on something without actually owning it. That's how the ETF works, basically. So, I mean, you do own it. I'm going to cut it there. So, why is this so important to Bitcoin? Now, the reason this is huge for Bitcoin is because it makes the barrier to entry for getting involved in crypto so much easier. I mean, if I can think back to when I first got started with cryptocurrency, buying cryptocurrency, learning about exchanges, learning about how exchanges work, how some exchanges are sketchy, all of the horror stories of people getting hacked here and hacked there, and don't keep your cryptocurrency here because it's going to get stolen. Don't keep it here, it's going to be stolen. Hot storage is the best. Cold storage is the best. You know, there's so many things you need to learn before getting involved that it's very intimidating. And there's so many daunting tasks you have to go through. I mean, say you're somebody who's not very tech savvy and this exchange asks, you know, this exchange that doesn't list their team, you have no idea who they are, you have no idea who you're giving your information to. They ask for your social security number, a picture of you, your driver's license, your credit card. It's very scary. It's very intimidating. So, you know, the barrier to entry with cryptocurrency is very steep, and we all know this. This is definitely something that keeps a lot of the general public out. But if people could get invested in, if institutional investors and the general public can get invested and get involved with cryptocurrency through ETFs, where they don't need to store their own cryptocurrency, they don't need to worry about getting hacked, they don't need to put all their information on these sketchy exchanges, I'm sure they'd be all for it, because I know a lot of people that want to get involved in Bitcoin and get involved in cryptocurrency, but just don't know how, or they're scared to. So I think that ETFs could be a huge game changer in terms of the people who are involved in Bitcoin. It would definitely do wonders for volume. That's my opinion. You know, maybe nobody's going to be interested in it. That's a possibility. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think if ETFs are approved for Bitcoin, it would make a huge shift, especially in the sentiment in the market and the sentiment with Bitcoin in general. But those are just my opinions, and this is a sort of nutshell video. I didn't really get too deep into ETFs. Like I said, there's a whole thing with the creation units, and that's a little more complex. If you guys want like a full in-depth breakdown of from the beginning steps to the end steps of creating an ETF and buying an ETF and how they're formed and where they're sold. And that's another thing too, that if the Bitcoin ETFs did get accepted and did get put through, that they'd be sold on big time exchanges, right? Not just cryptocurrency exchanges. They would be sold on international, the New York exchange. They would be sold on huge exchanges. So I'd be very excited for that. It would, again, I think it would definitely do wonders for Bitcoin volume. However, and they can ETFs can also be making on futures contracts, and Bitcoin does have futures contracts, so that is also something to keep in mind. A lot of people hate the future. Okay, we're not going to get into it. Whatever. Anyways, that is Bitcoin ETFs. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some kind of value out of it. I know that I talk really fast sometimes when I'm animated, but hopefully you guys could listen to what I was saying and get some kind of value out of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you guys subscribe to the channel if you're new. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and make sure to leave a comment with anything you're wondering or any type of questions you have, and I'll try to answer them in the comments. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, everybody, see you.